Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody that's joining me. I appreciate you joining. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Wherever it is that you're catching me at, good morning. It's my pleasure to come and spend this time with you, share a couple of encouraging words for you with you. And again, I do pray that they are encouraging to you. If this is your first time here, welcome. I pray that something you hear today is going to bless your spirit. I want to encourage you this morning. Um, Share with you what's been on my heart and what God has been dealing with in my spirit. So, good morning. This morning, what I want to talk to you about is very encouraging to me. It's something that keeps me pushing and motivated. It keeps me going. It keeps me thriving. It's something that I want to share with you. I don't know where you are in your life right now. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know where you're at in your growth and in your relationship with God. But I'm going to tell you something. This is something that sticks with me. It stays with me. It pushes me. It guides me. It motivates me. It reminds me sometimes of who I am and why my relationship with God is so important. This thing I'm gonna share with you today, man. This it's like a driving force. It's something that really just it really gets me going. It keeps pushing me, man. And here's what I want to share with you today. There are times, and I don't know about you, but there are times where I take a moment and I remember who I have been and kind of still who I am. I mean, I'm a speak for myself on this. I still got some flaws, y'all. I still got some issues. I still got some problems. I still got some things I'm working through. I'm on my process, but I haven't yet arrived. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm still working on this. I'm working on me. I'm pushing on me. I'm driving on me. I'm expecting better out of me. You ever got to a place where you were expecting better out of yourself? You ever said to yourself in the mirror, you need to be better. You know what? I'm going to do better. I'm going to speak better. I'm going to act better. I'm going to forgive better. I'm going to do better. You ever had a do better moment in your spirit? You ever had a moment where you just took a moment, you took a time out real quick, did a self-evaluation. You said, you know what, man? I'm going to do better. So I have those moments where I have those do better moments. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better. But you know what encourages me, what pushes me, what guides me in the middle of all of those? I think in those moments about some of the things I've done. I have moments where I think about the mistakes I've made. I have moments where I think about the errors in judgment that I've had. I've caused problems in my own life that really I should have been able to avoid, but my hard-headedness caused me to be in situations that I probably should have never been in before in the first place. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Me not listening to good counsel, me not listening to good advice, me not listening to the word that I've been taught, or even the Bible itself. There are things that I've found myself in, situations that I found myself in that, truth be told, I should have never been in them in the first place if I'd have just listened. If I'd have just been obedient. And so sometimes I find myself thinking back over those times. And you know what encourages me all the time? You know what gets me through when I think about those times? What I'm encouraged about during those times is I'm reminded that even then, God still watched out for me. You ever had a moment in your life where you knew you were wrong? You were absolutely in the wrong, but you could still see God's hand at work in your life? When you knew you were totally messed up, you had no right to the blessings. You had no right to God opening up a door because, truth be told, you wasn't thinking about him. You weren't doing things his way. You weren't moving according to his will. You weren't operating according to his way. Come on, somebody. You were doing everything that you felt like doing, no matter what it is that God felt like you were supposed to be doing. And yet, God started working on your behalf. You have a testimony in your life about how God showed you love when you weren't even thinking about him. And you know what that does for me? When I have those moments where I think back on everything that God has done for me, not just in those moments where I was praying, and asking for him to come through for me. No, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about those moments where God showed up and you didn't even ask him to show up. It's just because he loved you, he showed up. Just because he cares about you, he showed up. You didn't ask him to show up. Matter of fact, you were probably still in the middle of whatever it is that you were doing, and God saw that what you were planning and what you were doing was no good for you. And because he loved you so much, God showed up. Do you have a testimony in your life about how God showed up? You didn't even ask him to show up. In fact, watch this. You didn't even know at the time that you needed him to show up. But God knows you so well, and he loves you so much. And he's so concerned with making sure that you have what you need, that he showed up in your life when you didn't even ask him to. You didn't get on your knees and pray. You didn't ask God to show up. You didn't ask God to work it out. God showed up on your behalf when you didn't even ask. You didn't even know. And he did it because he loves you. And let me tell you, when I think about those times that God showed up for me, when I think about those times that God made a way for me, and it wasn't even on my mind to be focused on God at the time. I should have been focused on God, but I wasn't. I should have been thinking about God, but I wasn't. And yet in those times, God still showed up for me. And when I think about God in that way, when I think about everything that God has done for me, the only thing it does for me is it makes me love him more. Oh my goodness. You could never pull me away from my God. You could never convince me away from my God. You could never get me to stop serving him. No matter how bad things get, no matter how hard things get, no matter how difficult things get. Listen, I don't know about you. I got too many testimonies to fall back on about how good God has been to me. It doesn't matter how difficult life gets or how hard life gets or how many circumstances I find myself in. God has shown up too much for me. And every time he's shown up for me, it just makes me love him more. People ask, well, why are you so full of joy? Why do you have so much peace? Why do you go so hard for God like you do? Why do I go hard for God? Do you know how God has shown up in my life? All the times God has shown himself strong in my life. How could I not go hard for God? How could I half step this thing? Why wouldn't I give up anything for him? Why wouldn't I give up anyone for him? Why wouldn't I change my ways? Why wouldn't I change the way I talk? Why wouldn't I change the way I speak? Why wouldn't I change the way I act? Why wouldn't I stop going places that I have no business going? Why wouldn't I stop doing things that I have no business doing? The way that God has shown love for me, why wouldn't I do it? Man, who you know that show that kind of love? Listen, I know a lot of people in my life, and honestly, it seems like people in your life are only content to love you as long as you're loving them. As long as you're doing for them what they want you to do, then they have no problem being good to you. But what I find amazing is that I have experienced God loving me even when I wasn't thinking about him. I've experienced God caring about me when he was not the priority on my mind, yet I was still the priority on his. I've experienced God taking care of my business when I was too selfish to take care of his business. I didn't take care of his house. I wasn't taking care of the Lord's house. I was keeping my tithes and my offerings to myself. I was being selfish and he was still taking care of me. I have never experienced any person showing me that kind of consistent love on a regular basis. So why in the world would I bail on him in hard times? No, the fact that God has loved me the way he's loved me just makes me love him even more. I'm so hardcore committed to my relationship with God, and it's really not because of just not because of any sermon I heard on a Sunday morning. Don't get me wrong. I love my Sunday morning sermons. They feed me, they give me food, they help get me through the week. I love it. The revelation that I get, but that's not the reason why I go hard like I do. I go hard like I do because God loved me when I wasn't thinking about him. God loved me when I should have been thinking about him, but I wasn't. When I was so busy focused on me, God was still focused on me. And I love the fact that God loves me like that. And all it does is make me love him more. Listen, when you see some of us like this, we just go so hard for God like this. It's not because somebody has convinced us to be this way. No, it's because this ain't religion, y'all. It's a relationship. When you have a relationship with God, it takes your devotion to a whole other level. You can't take me away from someone that I have a relationship with. Listen, I ain't just hear about God. I got a relationship with God. Somebody didn't just tell me about God. I have a personal relationship with God. God showed up for me. God has helped me. God has guided me. God has spoken to me. God has walked me through some of the most difficult situations of my life. God has proven his presence in my life. I don't just hear about God. No, I got a relationship with God. And when you have a relationship with God, that changes everything. You know what I'm talking about? Do you see a difference in you from the times in your life where you were just hearing about God to the times in your life where you have a relationship with God? Have you noticed that? Have you seen the difference? Listen, when you have a relationship with God, the way that you are living your life matters. Not just to you, but it matters to you because of your relationship with God, you actually care about how your words and your actions will affect God. Right, because a relationship is a two-way street. A relationship is not just what God is doing for me and how God is making me feel, but it's also what am I doing and how is it making him feel. Come on, every last one of us, I won't say all of us, but most of us have found ourselves in a relationship that we consider to be one way. A relationship where you felt like you were giving and giving and giving, and the other person was just taking and taking and taking. And you finally got to a point where you said, you know what? There is no two-way in this relationship. You don't want to be in a one-way relationship. Well, guess what? Your relationship with God, much the same way. This is not a one-way relationship. When you are in relationship with God, it's no longer one way. This becomes a two-way interaction. I'm not just thinking about what God is doing for me, but I'm also focused on what I'm doing to please him. I'm going to leave y'all with this, and I pray that this is an encouraging thing. I got to a point one day in my prayer life where I became very intentional about asking this one specific thing when I pray. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Here's my encouragement for you today. I began to pray, and in my prayer life, I set aside specific prayer time to ask for nothing for myself. My specific prayer time. When I pray, I would come to God and I'd be like, you know what, Dad? I come to you and I bring my needs before you, even though you know what I need before I could even open my mouth to ask. I bring my desires before you, even though my desires are subject to your will. So nevertheless, not my will, let thy will be done. I bring all of these things to you, but you know what, God? Here's what I'd like to do. In this prayer time, I don't want to ask for anything from you. You know everything that I need before I can ask it, and your plan for my life is better than my plan anyway. No, what I want to pray for, God, tell me what to do to put a smile on your face. That's my prayer. My prayer, God, how do I make you happy? There's my prayer. And I want to encourage you to pray that prayer. Listen, we need to stop making prayer such a selfish situation. Anybody know what I'm talking about? We get down on our knees in prayer and it's me, my, gimme, God, gimme. No. How about we switch that up? God already knows what you need before you could ask, but he did say, bring your desires before him. You have not because you ask not, and all those things. So yeah, pray about what it is that you need. Pray about what it is that you want, even though you submit your wants to his will. But here's what I want to submit that you to do. I want to suggest for you in your prayer time that you don't ask for anything for yourself. Why don't you take a moment where in your prayer time, all you do is say, you know what, Father? All I want to do is put a smile on your face. Tell me what I can do to make you happy. And watch what he says to you. I'd actually be very interested to hear how God answers that prayer. And I think some other people would too. So if you do decide to pray that prayer, which I want to encourage you to do, I would love for you to share your answers, even in the comment section of this video over the coming days, because God will answer you. You ask God, what can I do to put a smile on your face? How can I make you happy? And whatever God says to you, I challenge you to do it. He may tell you to forgive. He may tell you to speak. He may tell you to stop something. He may tell you to start something. But whatever it is that God tells you to do, I challenge you to do it because I love him. This is a two-way street. This ain't just about what he does for me, but it's about what I can do for him. How can I put a smile on God's face today? I challenge you to pray that prayer. Hey, listen, if you're going to do it, if you could go ahead and type down in the comments, I'm going to pray that. If you could type that in the comments, not even just for yourself, but if you could type, I'm going to pray that. Somebody else might need a little bit more motivation before they drop down in that prayer. So maybe your comment might just motivate them. I'm going to pray that. If that's you, go ahead and type that down in the comment section. You know what? After you pray that prayer, I know that God is going to speak to you. And when he does, if you share that with the rest of us, I'm sure we would love to hear what God puts on your heart, because God is going to challenge you. God is going to have you do something, maybe take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Maybe he'll tell you to go forgive somebody you've been holding a grudge against for a long time. But whatever it is that God tells you to do, man, I challenge you to do it. Show that this is not a one-way street, that not only are you just concerned about God doing things that'll make you happy, but let's show that you are concerned about doing things that'll make God happy. All right, y'all. Well, I pray that that was an encouraging word for you this morning. And listen, if it encouraged you, if it touched you, if it did something for you, then the likelihood is it's going to encourage somebody else too. So I want to encourage you to do something that I ask you to do on every video. I think you already know what it is. I'm going to ask you to hit the share button. Yeah, press the share button, say a little something about this video to encourage somebody else to watch it and share it on your page. And if you don't know, we take all of these videos, we upload them right over to our YouTube channel. So if you have missed any of these devotional videos, you can catch them all on the YouTube channel. The link to the YouTube is a little further down on my Facebook page. So just go ahead, you'll see me post it there. If you're watching this on YouTube, please press the subscribe button and then press the bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. Listen, God bless you. I want to thank you for rocking with me this morning. I pray that I've encouraged your spirit a little bit. Until next time, love you.